Mesothelioma is a rare type of cancer that occurs in the mesothelium, which is a protective lining that covers most of the body's internal organs, including the lungs and abdominal cavity. When people talk about mesothelioma, they usually mean the disease of the pleura, the lining surrounding the lungs. While mesothelioma typically affects adults and most often occurs in people 50 to 70 years old, children can unfortunately still be diagnosed with this disease as well, though it is quite rare. There are a few key factors that can increase a child's risk of developing mesothelioma, but also important steps parents and guardians can take to help reduce that risk. One of the biggest risk factors for mesothelioma in both adults and children is exposure to asbestos. Asbestos is a naturally occurring mineral that was widely used in construction materials for insulation and fireproofing up until the 1970s, as its properties made it ideal for these roles. However, prolonged and significant exposure to asbestos fibers can lead to diseases like mesothelioma decades later. When asbestos materials like insulation degrade over time, tiny asbestos fibers are released into the air. These fibers can easily become airborne and be inhaled or swallowed. For children, exposure to asbestos is most likely to occur if a parent or guardian works with asbestos materials without proper protective equipment and brings that asbestos dust home on their clothes, bodies, potentially exposing their child secondhand. Children also have higher respiration rates than adults, so they inhale more air relative to their body weight and size compared to grown-ups. This means they are more susceptible to asbestos and other airborne hazards. Some ways the risks can be reduced include testing homes and buildings, especially those built before the 1970s, for the presence of asbestos-containing materials like insulation, promptly remediating or encapsulating any damaged asbestos to prevent fibers from becoming airborne, avoiding do-it-yourself projects that could disturb asbestos without proper safety equipment and training, avoiding bringing home work clothes worn during asbestos exposure, properly containing and promptly disposing of asbestos-containing construction debris to prevent children from encountering it. Ensuring good housekeeping practices are followed, like wet mopping and damp dusting to minimize the spread of any possible trace asbestos fibers already in a home, can also help minimize risk. Parents who work with asbestos should shower and change into clean clothes before interacting with their children upon returning home each day. Another important risk factor is simply living close to naturally occurring asbestos deposits or sites that have used asbestos in the past, like mines and quarries. Some regions like California have natural asbestos formations in the soil and rocks. When that soil or dust from development, construction disturbs asbestos-containing rock or earth, it can release fibers into the air. While not as significant as direct exposure through occupations, long-term low-level environmental exposure still raises mesothelioma risks. Controlling dust, limiting time spent outdoors during active construction or earth moving, and planting ground covers to minimize dust can help limit risk from naturally occurring regional asbestos sources for local children. Proper school maintenance and repairs are also an area where asbestos risks to children need considering. Older school buildings may still contain asbestos materials that could become damaged or disturbed during renovations if safety protocols are not followed. Ensuring schools properly test for and remediate asbestos before any maintenance work and repairs where dust could be released helps safeguard students, teachers and staff from unnecessary asbestos exposure that could increase long-term mesothelioma risks. Community involvement and oversight of school facilities management can help ensure financial resources are allocated to properly address asbestos issues and aging educational infrastructure. Genetics also seem to play some role, with certain genetic mutations believed to make some individuals more susceptible to developing mesothelioma even after low-level asbestos exposures. However, this genetic component appears small, and most mesothelioma cases are attributable to significant asbestos exposures or other environmental risk factors that can be reduced or controlled through prevention measures. Having family members with mesothelioma or other asbestos-related diseases may slightly increase risk for some children as well. Controlling environmental tobacco smoke is another recommended way to potentially decrease mesothelioma risk for children. Secondhand smoke has been found to potentially interact synergistically with asbestos fibers in the lungs, possibly exacerbating any asbestos damage from exposures. Smoke particles may help asbestos fibers penetrate deeper into lung tissues. Keeping children away from any smoke or vaping, enforcing smoke-free home policies and advocating for smoke-free public spaces helps on this front. Maintaining a healthy lifestyle with a balanced diet, getting regular exercise, managing stress in age-appropriate ways and avoiding or limiting other known pulmonary toxicants may also provide some general health benefits that help strengthen children's natural lung defense mechanisms against asbestos and other potential harms. Though genetics and major historical asbestos exposures will always represent the largest risk drivers for mesothelioma, minimizing all modifiable risk factors can only serve to further decrease already low childhood mesothelioma probabilities. Being proactive about asbestos safety, environmental health and children's general wellness are recommended strategies. With diligent prevention efforts, the goal is to reduce future mesothelioma cases in both children as well